Greetings, Ivy Artists. This is Miss A, and today we're going to be discussing the first thing I want to say is that in the previous video, if you looked at the art form media choices that you had, so in the two-dimensional column you had drawing, painting, and printing, you might have come across a lot of stuff you might not be familiar with. And what I don't want you to do is to get intimidated by all these very specific words that describe different processes. I've worked in a lot of schools in my time, and some of them, really literally had almost nothing. Art teachers are usually very, very resourceful. I don't want you to think that if your school doesn't have amazing resources that you can't do well on this course. You absolutely can. You can really stick to the basics like drawing and painting and whatever it is that you want to do, as long as in SL you're doing the correct number of art forms from the correct number of columns. If you're an HL student, likewise. So please don't worry if you don't have a super fancy art department. That's absolutely fine. Of course, ask for things to improve if you can, but I don't want you to, get worried in any way. So today we're going to be discussing the criteria in the process portfolio component, and really it's pretty straightforward because there's no difference between the SL and the HL requirements. It's the same across the board. The criteria, there's 5 criteria, A to E. Criterion A is skills, techniques, and processes. Criterion B is critical investigation. Criterion C is communication of ideas and intentions in visual and written form. And Criterion D is reviewing, refining, reflecting, both in visual and written forms. And Criterion E is presentation and subject-specific language. You might be thinking, well, aren't we doing the same thing over and over again in every component? Like I said, it is very, very difficult to separate the components, because when you are creating the work, when you are researching the work, when you're thinking about the exhibition of the work, so you're curating the work, all these things work organically. They feed off each other. It's a cyclical type of process rather than a linear one, or one that you can separate easily. In the previous video, I did the comparative study criteria. And in that video, we kind of went through the criteria and we focused on the highest band, the highest possible scoring band. So what you're actually aiming for. That's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to focus on the highest scoring band and what that requires. The first criterion, which is Criterion A, to do really well, you have to be working within the correct number of required media from the right number of columns. The portfolio has to demonstrate the assured and sustained experimentation and manipulation of a range of skills, techniques, processes, and a highly appropriate selection of materials consistent with intentions. So look out for the key words. I've highlighted those, but also make sure that you understand that when you are demonstrating your techniques, your processes, your skills, that they are appropriate for what you're trying to do. They should be appropriate to the ideas that you're trying to examine. They should be appropriate to your intentions, to what you want to express, to what you want to communicate to the audience, okay? So those two should be connected. It is not just about, well, I'm really, really good at watercolor, that's all I'm going to do. or the majority of my work is going to be in watercolor. You should also be asking, is watercolor the best medium for this idea that I'm examining? And again, these choices should be based on the research that you're doing. Who are the artists that you're looking at? Are they using watercolor? Is this why you're doing watercolor? If so, are they dealing with the same concepts that you are trying to tackle? And is that why that medium is appropriate for what you need to do, for what you need to experiment with? A different medium to the one that the artist is using is more appropriate for your own work, and so on. So there should be an awareness there as to why you're choosing the medium, the process, the skill that you're demonstrating. There should be a reason for it. It should be matching with your intentions. For the critical investigation, the portfolio shows an in-depth, again, there's keywords which I'm highlighting, critical investigation into the artist's art-making practices, clearly communicating a secure and insightful awareness of how the investigation has impacted upon the student's own developing practices and intentions. And again, this doesn't matter whether you're SL or HL. You should be looking into artists' work. You should be really thinking about the choices that they're making. What is behind the, this process? What is behind this medium? What is behind this form of artwork? Is it 2D, 3D, digital? So all these questions you need to kind of investigate thoroughly, and then you have to kind of show that not only have you learned from this research, that you are also making connections, with your own work and with art in general, and that you're thinking in a similar way that you see these artists thinking about their own work and applying these ideas to your work. So basically, you're looking at artists, you're looking at their processes, their reasoning, their ideas, how they express their ideas, their intentions, how they communicate, and then you are doing the same and applying it to yourself. Okay? Again, I talked about this in the previous video. Don't just be derivative. Don't just kind of take from an artist and just plonk it on top of your own work. It's a lot more complex than that if you want to do well. You have to be convincing in your own exploration of ideas, techniques, processes, and skills. The Criterion C is the communication of ideas and intentions. And to do really well in this criterion, your portfolio is clearly articulating how initial ideas and intentions have been formed and developed. Okay? The portfolio effectively communicates how technical skill, media, and ideas have been assimilated to develop the portfolio further. So, as we said before, all these overlap, right? They're not really separated. It is just a way for you to kind of organize the information, because there is a lot of information, or at least there should be. So, for this criterion, you are specifically looking at elaborating on the development of the ideas and the intentions. So you are explaining. There should be lots of evidence of your thought processes. You should be showing how you are assimilating, as in synthesizing or putting together, bringing together all these different things that you have been doing. So the research that's gone into your work, the experimentation that's gone into your work, the practice that's gone into your work, the investigation and going to galleries that's gone into, which is part of the research. So all these things are kind of, you're cooking this pot with lots and lots of ingredients. For Criterion C, you need to kind of show the breakdown of how you are constructing and developing and refining the work. Showing the kind of how the ideas that are germinating from initial ideas to being developed and refined into more resolved pieces that again you will be exhibiting later on in the exhibition component. Criterion D is reviewing, refining, and reflecting, both in visual form and in written form. So for this criterion, the portfolio has to demonstrate an effective and consistent process of reviewing and refining ideas, skills, processes, and techniques. Okay? So again, the process portfolio really is about the doing. So everything that you are showing, explaining, refining, developing is, for this criterion, focused on your actual work, on the work that you're actually producing. Okay? Just like the comparative study is focused on the research, this one is on the doing, and then the exhibition is focused on the curation or the organization, display, and presentation of your work. Back to Criterion D, the portfolio presents a meaningful and assured reflection upon the acquisition of skills and analysis of the student's development as an artist. So again, in my previous video, I already talked a lot about this. As you are going through the process and the journey of being an artist, of doing the work, of developing the ideas, and then the experimentation with the media and art forms and the skills you are acquiring and developing, all these have to be accompanied by an awareness. Not only an awareness, but you're also recording that awareness. You are reflecting on what you are doing. You are reflecting and reviewing what is going on, how you are developing those skills, what is working, what is not working, what is challenging you, how are you dealing with those challenges, how are you overcoming them, what has kind of accidentally happened that has led you into a new direction. For example, have you stumbled across something while something went wrong? Are you learning from your failures? Because if you just continuously fail and you don't step back and really think about what it is that is not working and trying to kind of analyze and break that down, you're obviously not going to be learning much. Or you're going to be, progressing very slowly, let's say. There are also students who are continuously, ecstatic about their work. That's also very, very strange. You should not be on a course where, everything you do is super easy, because that means that you're not raising your standards, that means that you are not challenging yourself, and therefore that you're not really rigorously learning about stuff that is new to you, that is pushing you out of your comfort zone. And again, remember that IB is, specifically looking for that. What have you done that has widened your horizons, that has changed the way you see things, the way you perceive things, the way you think about things, okay? IB is looking for that. So it's very important that you give that to whoever is looking at your work, that yes, I am challenging myself, I am raising the bar, ever higher, and through that process I am, learning and coming across lots of new information, lots of new, specifically for this component, techniques, skills, processes, ideas. It's all growing, it's all progressing, developing. I'm thinking about what I'm doing, I'm aware of what I'm doing, and of course I am recording this process both visually and in written form. That classic thing of, if the tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, did it actually fall? This is exactly, what I'd be saying. You can't just say it's all here. And believe it or not, that has actually been, quite a few students tend to think that if it's all up here, that it's fine. Obviously, it's not fine because whoever's looking at that work is not psychic. There has to be lots and lots of evidence that there is stuff going on, that you are analyzing, and that you are clear about what is going on, that you're continuously checking on yourself, on your progress, and that you are self-aware. So Criterion E is presentation and subject-specific language. We've talked about this quite a lot now. Art-specific vocabulary means that you are learning about art, because this requires reading about art. It's also comprehending the kind of the conversations that are being had in art. And also it is giving you tools to express yourself clearly, eloquently, especially if you are, and you should be dealing with quite complex ideas and intentions, right? So what you're trying to achieve in your work should be elaborated on using subject-specific language so that you are very clear and concise. So for this criterion, your portfolio should convey the evidence that you are giving in a very clear and coherent and engaging way. Okay? Again, you are eloquent, you are clear, you are engaging. And engaging really means that you are excited about what you're doing, that there's an element of passion, that that investigation is authentic to you. You're not faking it. Well, I mean, because if you're faking it, then the enthusiasm isn't real. And of course, it's pretty obvious when students fake enthusiasm. So you don't want to do that. And to be honest, the more you distance yourself from your work, the less excited you're going to be. If you're bored by your work, so will everybody else be. Okay? So the more you actually invest and commit to your work, the more exciting and the more engaging the process will be for you, but also whoever is, either marking your work or looking at it. So it's really, I understand, not everybody's into art. I don't understand that, but it happens. And I know that not everyone's kind of 100% committed. But if you are already on this course, it's really worth your while to commit to it, even if it is demanding, even if you do want to become, I don't know, an astronomer or an astronomer? Yeah, whatever. Accountant, doctor, dentist, I don't know. But, you might as well delve deep, because you will discover things about yourself that you will treasure for the rest of your life. I'm pretty sure about that. Okay? Plus you won't get bored. You won't be, you'll actually enjoy yourself, which is super important in life. Back to Criterion E, there is an excellent range of visual evidence and consistent use of appropriate subject-specific language used to document the art-making process. We've talked about the written way of recording your progress, but for the visual, again, break your processes down. If you are, for example, I'm not sure if I've used this example before, but let's say that you have spent ages trying to mix the correct or the nuance of the skin color that you have tried to achieve. Make sure that you show the progress, where you started, how the mixing kind of process went along, how it developed, how you tweaked until you got to the right shade, the right tone of skin color. Stuff like that. If you're kind of experimenting with a new medium, for example, make sure that you document your progress and development, etc. So like you're breaking down the process verbally and explaining your actions and reasoning, etc., you're doing the same but visually. Make sure that you do remember that this is a visual exam. There should be lots and lots of evidence of visuals to accompany your analysis, that the visuals are a part of the analysis. Well, I think that concludes this video. I hope it's been helpful. Not the most exciting videos when we're talking about the criteria, but in many ways the most important. If you don't know what you need to be doing, what is required of you, how can you perform well? You can't, right? So it's really important that you spend some time thinking about what it is that I'm actually required to do, and then go out and do it. Okay? This is Miss A. I hope it's been good. If you have any questions, let me know, and all the best.